Let's go. Good stuff, everybody. We just hit 500 subscribers on the channel. We just started this channel not too long ago. 500 subscribers already. That's great, but we're not at the goal. We're trying to take this thing to the moon. Let's get there. So keep up the support, subscribe. There it is, and here we go. All right, what's up, everybody? This is Mike here today from True Business Review, and we're going to be talking about 7 Super Bowl matchups that might not be the most likely games we're ever going to watch, but there's 7 games that you, me, and whoever else is near you, we all want to see these 7 Super Bowl matchups. We wouldn't be opposed to it, and they'd be some funny games. So let's kick things off. You'll see how the video's going as we progress. The first game we're going to be looking at is the Eagles versus the Steelers. This will be the Battle of Pennsylvania. Obviously, you know, it's been a long rivalry ever since the 1950s when the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were one team known as the Steagles. So there is that kind of connection there. And then they branched down and have had a rivalry over who is the better team in the state of Pennsylvania. Imagine this game. There would be such an interesting battle between the offensive line and the defensive line. The Eagles' stacked offensive line, one of the best in the leagues. Lane Johnson, Jason Peters, Jason Kelsey, versus the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line, Bud Dupree, TJ Watt, and Cam Hayward. Now the Eagles, they were able to make the playoffs last year with a decimated, their roster was destroyed with injuries. That's how bad it was. They made the playoffs. The Steelers, they didn't make the playoffs because they didn't have a quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger back from injury, and that defense is looking scary good with Minka Fitzpatrick. I'm looking at the Steelers. Steelers are going to have a top 3 defense in the NFL for sure. Their offense might not be great, but we'll have to see. Now, these two teams do play Week 5, and it's in Pittsburgh. Historically, whoever has the home field advantage in this game usually wins the game. So it's kind of a toss-up between who's going to win, but I would lean towards Pittsburgh because it's in Pittsburgh, so it's more likely. Everybody, I feel like, would be okay if this was a Super Bowl preview. You know, let Pennsylvania do their thing. They have a battle of PA. All right, so what I'm going to be doing in this video is ranking how likely the matchups are. So obviously, when talking about Super Bowl chances, you know, if I say likely, it might mean there's a 1% chance of this happening. And that's what I see with this matchup. I'm going to say this matchup is likely because I definitely expect both of these teams to be in the playoffs. And I could see them being playoff contenders as well if they are healthy and, and things are going right for these teams. So likely matchup right here. The next matchup is going to be the Houston Texans versus the Arizona Cardinals. Come on, bro. How funny would it be if DeAndre Hopkins got to go up against his former team that traded him away like a bag of trash, a bag of beans? The Texans got former OP running back David Johnson in exchange. Yeah, I said former. Make sure you noted that I said former. If this scenario were to happen, Bill O'Brien would either be a genius if he won the Super Bowl, or he'd be kicking himself in the pants if they lose to the dude he got rid of. Who would get the last laugh here? Also, a showdown between Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson would be epic. 2 young, talented quarterbacks getting at it. Now, sadly, I have to categorize this matchup as extremely unlikely. I doubt the Texans make the playoffs. They're in an extremely decent division, really average, so all the teams aren't that bad, and their offensive line's horrible. The Cardinals are heading in the right direction. I even said they might win 12 games this year, so I can see them in the playoffs as a wild card, but are the Cardinals a Super Bowl contender? Can't answer that quite yet. The NFC is a stacked conference. Next up, Cowboys versus Patriots. All right, come on now. America's team, the Dallas Cowgirls, against the all-time bandwagon team, the New England Patriots. If you're that NFL fan and you actually support this matchup, come on, bro. Might not be the right channel for you, but this Super Bowl will be watched by a whopping 2 fan bases. It would be known as the toxic Super Bowl that nobody would watch. It's kind of like the Patriots versus Rams where everyone turns it off after maybe the first quarter. For real, though, it definitely is not a likely matchup, but it isn't super duper unlikely, like Cardinals versus Texans. I'm going to classify this as highly unlikely. I hate to say that the Cowboys could make the playoffs, but they could if the Eagles are ravaged by injuries again. I don't think the Cowboys are Super Bowl contenders if they make the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, it's probably because they have a dynamic offense, CeeDee Lamb, Zeke, Cooper, and Prescott, but their defense is too young and inexperienced, especially their secondary. The Patriots will be lucky to make it as a wild card contender. Bills Mafia, baby. The Bills are going to be OP this year, and I can guarantee the Bills win the division. Oh, and 8 Patriots opted out for 2020. All right, Saints versus Chiefs. Drew Brees might be retiring soon. He's getting pretty old, especially if he goes on a Super Bowl campaign. The Saints and Chiefs both have high-powered offenses that can score points fast, and both have solid enough defenses. Pat Mahomes against future Hall of Famer Drew Brees in one of his last seasons. Sounds interesting to me. Honestly, the Chiefs have such a high shot at making another Super Bowl. In my opinion, their only two roadblocks are the Ravens and Bills to get to this game. If they overcome these two teams, there's no way they aren't playing here. The NFC is much more loaded than the AFC, but the NFC South will be really overtaken by the Saints, and then be a battle for second place between the Falcons and Buccaneers. This Super Bowl matchup is very likely. Patriots versus Buccaneers. All right, we got Tom Brady versus former team, the New England Patriots. You know, we got a pretty solid offense for Tampa Bay. They're kind of lacking in the running back department, but they did kind of address it in the NFL draft. Keyshawn Vaughn. I definitely could see the Buccaneers becoming a contender. They do have a couple of sleepers on defense. They have a couple of Pro Bowlers on that defense. I was a little worried when I was looking into the Tampa Bay defense, but I wasn't that worried anymore when I saw they had a couple Pro Bowlers. I could see the Buccaneers making some waves in the NFL this year, but the Patriots also making waves with Scam Newton. Scam Newton versus Tom Brady. It's just too unlikely. I could see one of these teams maybe having a breakout season right here, but I can't see both of them making the playoffs more likely. I don't know if there's a chance in the world if either of these teams even make the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl. I'm going to classify this matchup as highly unlikely. The last matchup, and I'm just going to say right here before I say it, this matchup is not super unlikely, meaning it can happen. The Detroit Lions versus the Buffalo Bills. Now, I'm an Eagles fan, but if I had to say that there's two teams I'm rooting for this year, is the Lions and Bills. I'm not really rooting for either of those teams, but I think they're going to be doing good. So the Detroit Lions, we got Matthew Stafford, Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay, he had stats similar to Amari Cooper last year. I think he's a really underappreciated wide receiver just because he's in Detroit. Now, Matt Patricia might not be the greatest coach for this Detroit Lions franchise, but I think they have the team to get things done this season. Their offense is really good. Their defense is really good. The Lions got a running back in the draft. The Kerryon Johnson's back from injury. They signed a really solid offensive tackle. I think his name was Halapoulivaati Vaitai. I'm not sure about that, but they did get an offensive tackle from the Eagles, and their defense is going to be solid as well. They did get rid of Darius Slay, but they got Desmond Trufant and Jeff Okudah to replace it, so the Lions are looking to be good, and I can see them beating the Packers, who are going to be on the downtrend this year, and the Vikings, who are probably going to stay the same. Now, the Bills, their division's ripe for the taking. I really like this team with Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, and that stacked receiver core now with John Brown, Beasley, and Diggs. And their defense is going to be top 5 in the league with Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. Really solid Bills team overall. If this was a Super Bowl matchup, I'd be happy. I think this would be a really interesting, fun game to watch, and it would be kind of cool that both of these teams made it. All right, that was the 7th matchup. There you guys go. Let me know which one you guys think is the most likely, or if there's any Super Bowl matchups that you guys want to see more than any of these. Subscribe. There it is. Hit the bell. GG.